She challenged me to a duel, but when she saw my tattoo, she froze, and so did I. The desert world of Kairos was known across the galaxy for two things: honor and memory. Nothing was forgotten on Kairos. Every promise, every insult, every act of courage was remembered for generations. The twin suns above the planet burned bright and harsh, lighting the endless stone streets and tall spire buildings with golden fire. Into this world came a human. His name was Elias Rowan, and he was not a warrior by choice. He was a traveler, a courier who moved quietly between systems, carrying messages and small cargo for those who preferred not to be noticed. Humans like Elias were common in trade ports, but rarely respected. On Kairos, humans were seen as fragile, short-lived, and careless with tradition. Elias did not argue with those beliefs. He simply kept his head down and followed the rules. On the day everything changed, Elias was in the Central Exchange Plaza, waiting for his transport clearance. The plaza was crowded with merchants, guards, and travelers from dozens of species. Voices echoed in strange languages. Energy banners floated above the stone walkways, showing symbols of local clans and guilds. Elias stood near a water stall, checking his wrist device. He wore simple travel clothes, loose and practical, with long sleeves to protect against the sun. A small satchel rested at his side. He looked calm, almost invisible. That was when the silence fell. A tall figure stepped into the open space at the center of the plaza. She moved with confidence, her posture straight and controlled. Her armor was light but ceremonial, marked with silver lines that reflected the twin suns. Her skin was a deep blue-gray, and her eyes were sharp, glowing faintly gold. She was Commander Sira Vec, one of Kairos's most respected duelists. People stepped back at once. Conversation stopped. Everyone knew what it meant when Sira entered a public space like this. Elias did not notice her at first. He only realized something was wrong when the crowd parted around him. "Human," Sira said, her voice calm but strong. "You will face me." Elias looked up, confused. He blinked once, then looked behind him, thinking she must be speaking to someone else. "I believe," he said carefully, "you have the wrong person." A soft murmur moved through the crowd. Sira's eyes narrowed, not in anger but in focus. "You stepped between me and the water stall," she said. "You did not yield when my standard was visible. On Kairos, that is a challenge." Elias felt his stomach tighten. He remembered the moment now, how he had shifted aside without looking, distracted by his device. He had not seen any banner or symbol. "I meant no disrespect," he said quickly. "I didn't see." "Intent does not erase custom," Sira replied. "A public challenge could not be ignored." Elias knew enough about Kairos law to understand that refusing outright would shame her and himself. "I am not a fighter," Elias said honestly. "If there is another way—" "There is," Sira said. "A ceremonial duel, no blood, no harm beyond pride." The words eased the tension slightly, but Elias' heart still pounded. He had never stood in a duel ring before. Still, he nodded slowly. "If that is the custom," he said, "then I will accept." The plaza buzzed with quiet surprise. Humans rarely accepted challenges on Kairos. The duel was scheduled for sunset, when the twin suns hung low and red on the horizon. A ceremonial circle was cleared in the plaza, marked by glowing lines in the stone. Elders arrived to witness, along with guards and record keepers. Elias was given time to prepare. He sat alone on a stone bench, breathing slowly. He reminded himself that this was not about winning. It was about respect. Across the circle, Sira prepared as well. She removed her helm and placed it on a stand. Her movements were precise, practiced. To her, this was not anger, it was order. When the signal was given, both stepped into the circle. The air felt heavy, as if the planet itself was watching. "State your name," an elder said. "Elias Rowan," he replied. "State your claim." "I seek to restore balance through honor," Sira said. The elder nodded. "Begin." They approached each other slowly, ceremonial blades held low. Elias' blade was light and unfamiliar in his hand. He had been shown the basic form only minutes earlier. He did not attack. He waited. Sira paused. That, too, was unexpected. Then, as part of the custom, Elias raised his arm to show he carried no hidden weapons. His sleeve slipped back slightly in the movement, and that was when everything stopped. A dark symbol, worn smooth by time, rested on his forearm. Simple lines, carefully inked. Elias had seen it his whole life but never thought much of it. To him, it was a family mark, given when he was a child by people who raised him on a forgotten colony. To Sira, it was something else entirely. Her eyes widened, her blade lowered. The crowd went silent. For the first time since she had entered the plaza, Sira looked uncertain. "That mark," she whispered. Elias followed her gaze and felt his breath catch. He had never seen anyone react to the tattoo like that before. "What is it?" he asked quietly. Sira did not answer. Her hand trembled slightly as she stared at the symbol as if seeing a ghost from ancient memory. The elder stepped forward, alarmed. "Commander." Sira slowly stepped back, her expression unreadable. "This duel cannot continue," she said. A shockwave of whispers spread through the plaza. Elias stood frozen, his heart racing. Because in Sira's eyes, he saw something he had never expected to inspire. The plaza remained silent long after Commander Sira lowered her blade. Even the twin suns seemed to pause as they hovered above the stone towers. No one spoke. No one moved. The elders exchanged careful looks, unsure how to respond to something that had not happened in generations. Elias still stood inside the ceremonial circle. His arm was raised halfway, his sleeve pulled back just enough to reveal the tattoo. He slowly lowered it, feeling every eye on him. His heart beat hard, but his face stayed calm. Years of traveling had taught him how to stay steady when he did not understand what was happening. Sira took another step back, placing distance between herself and the human. Her breathing had changed. It was slower now but heavier, as if she carried a weight she had not expected. "That mark," she said again, louder this time. "Where did you get it?" Elias hesitated. The question felt different from the challenge. This was not about honor anymore. "This was personal. I was given it," he said, "when I was young." "By whom?" one of the elders asked. Elias turned to face them. "By the people who raised me. They said it was a promise." A murmur passed through the crowd. Promises carried power on Karos. Sira's eyes never left the symbol. "That mark belongs to no living clan," she said. "It is older than our cities." An elder stepped forward, his voice careful. "Commander, explain." Sira closed her eyes for a brief moment. When she opened them, her expression was controlled, but something had shifted inside her. "There are stories," she said, "old ones, about silent guardians who came from beyond known space when our people faced extinction. They did not rule us. They did not stay. They protected, then vanished." The crowd leaned closer. Few had heard those stories spoken aloud. "Their symbol," Sira continued, "was said to be lost forever." She looked directly at Elias. "And now it stands before us on human skin." Elias swallowed. "I don't know those stories," he said honestly. "I only know what I was told, that the mark means you help others when you can, even when no one is watching." That answer seemed to strike something deep. Sira's posture softened slightly. The elders spoke quietly among themselves before raising a staff. "This duel is suspended," the elder announced. "By authority of the council, both parties will accompany us." No one argued. The plaza slowly came back to life, though the tension remained heavy. As Elias followed the elders, he felt dozens of eyes on his back. Some were curious. Some were confused. Some held a strange new respect. They were taken to the Hall of Memory, a place carved directly into the planet's stone. Its walls were covered with symbols, names, and recordings of the past. Light panels glowed softly, reflecting histories long preserved. Elias stood near the center, feeling small among so much time. Sira stood across from him, her armor now removed, her stance less rigid. She studied him not as a rival but as something unexpected. "You said you were raised off-world," she said. "Yes," Elias replied. "A small colony, mostly humans, some others." "Did they know the meaning of the mark?" "They knew parts of it," Elias said, "not the history." "Only the values," Sira nodded slowly. "That makes sense." An elder approached a console and activated an old archive. Images filled the air, stars, ships, unfamiliar shapes. The recordings were damaged, but the symbol was clear. The same symbol Elias carried. "It is real," the elder said quietly. "The records confirm it." The room grew still again. Elias felt a strange pressure in his chest. "If this mark means something important," he said, "then I need to understand it too." Sira looked at him with a mix of pride and conflict. "Understanding brings responsibility." "I already live with that," Elias said. "I just didn't know why." The elders decided to test not his strength but his intent. Elias was asked questions about his travels, his choices, the times he could have taken advantage but did not. He answered simply, without drama. He spoke of helping stranded crews, returning lost cargo without reward, choosing safer routes even when they cost him profit. Sira listened closely. At last, an elder spoke. "You carry the mark not because of blood but because of behavior." Elias nodded. "That's what they taught me." Silence followed. Then Sira stepped forward. "On Karos," she said, "honor is proven through action, not claim." She placed her hand over her chest in a formal gesture. "I misjudged you, Elias Rowan." Elias returned the gesture awkwardly but sincerely. The elders reached a decision. The duel would not resume. Instead, Elias was offered protection during his stay and access to the hall's deeper records. That night, Elias walked alone through the quiet streets. The suns had set, leaving the city under soft artificial light. He touched the tattoo on his arm, feeling its familiar lines. For the first time, it felt heavier. Across the city, Sira stood at a high balcony, looking out over the same streets. Her world had shifted. Everything she believed about strength had been challenged, not by force but by quiet presence. She realized something unsettling. If humans carried such legacies without knowing it, what else had the galaxy misunderstood about them? And more importantly, why had the Guardians chosen humans to remember what others had forgotten? The next morning on Karos felt different. Elias noticed it as soon as he stepped outside his guest quarters. The air was the same, dry and warm, but the people were not. Some paused when they saw him. Others bowed their heads slightly, not in fear, but in respect mixed with uncertainty. No one spoke to him directly, yet word had clearly spread. He did not like the attention. Elias had lived his life moving quietly between places, helping when he could, leaving before anyone remembered his name. Now he felt like a stone dropped into still water, sending waves he never meant to create. An escort arrived, 2 ceremonial guards, calm and polite. They did not treat him as a prisoner but as a guest of importance. "Commander Sira requests your presence," one said. Elias nodded and followed. They walked through deeper sections of the Hall of Memory into areas closed to the public. The walls here were older, rougher, marked with symbols worn by time. Soft lights revealed carvings that showed scenes of unity, many species standing together, not as rulers and followers, but as equals. Sira waited near a large stone table where glowing records floated in the air. She turned as Elias entered. "You are early," she said. "I didn't sleep much," Elias replied. "Neither did I for a moment." They stood in silence. "I asked for you," Sira said, "because the council is divided." "That doesn't surprise me," Elias said gently. "Some see you as proof of forgotten alliances," she continued. "Others see you as a risk. Symbols have power." "I don't want power," Elias said at once. "I never did." Sira studied him closely. "That may be why the mark stayed with your people." She activated another record. This one showed star maps, routes long erased from modern charts. These guardians, she said, they did not fight to rule. They stood between chaos and collapse, then stepped away. Elias leaned closer. Why leave? Because staying would have changed us, Sira said. Dependence is a quiet danger. Elias thought of his childhood colony, how help was given but never forced. How choices were always returned to the people themselves. That sounds familiar, he said. Sira nodded. There is more. She hesitated, then continued. The council plans to test you. Elias stiffened. Test me how? Not through combat, she said quickly. Through decision. She explained that a nearby system was facing a growing dispute, nothing violent but dangerous in its own way. Trade routes were failing. Trust between species was breaking down. The council wanted Elias to observe and advise, not as a ruler, but as a neutral presence. They want to see if the values of the mark still live, Sira said. Elias exhaled slowly. And if I refuse? No shame would follow, she said, but answers would remain buried. Elias looked at his forearm. The tattoo had always been quiet, but now it felt like a voice asking something of him. I'll go, he said. The journey was short. Elias traveled with a small delegation, arriving at a station where tension hung heavy in the air. Different species occupied separate sections, avoiding one another. Trade talks had stalled. Everyone believed the others were acting in bad faith. Elias did not speak much at first. He listened. He listened to complaints, fears, and frustrations. He noticed patterns, small misunderstandings growing large through silence and pride. He asked simple questions. He reminded each side of shared needs. When offered authority, he refused. I'm not here to decide for you, he said, only to help you hear each other. Slowly, walls lowered. One species admitted fear of being ignored. Another admitted fear of losing identity. Elias helped them see that compromise did not mean loss. It meant survival together. It took days, but progress came. When agreements were finally reached, no one cheered. Instead, there was relief, quiet relief. Back on Karos, the council reviewed everything. Sira stood beside Elias as the elders spoke. He did not command, one elder said. He did not claim, said another. He reminded, said a third. The eldest elder turned to Elias. You carry the mark as it was meant to be carried. Elias bowed his head. I only did what I was taught. Exactly, the elder replied. After the session, Sira walked with Elias through the upper terraces of the city. The twin suns were setting, painting the sky in deep orange and gold. You understand now, she said, why I froze. Elias smiled faintly. I think I do. She stopped and faced him. The galaxy is changing again. Old fears are returning. Your kind may be needed. Elias met her gaze. Humans won't lead armies. We won't rule councils. No, Sira said softly. You will remind us who we were supposed to be. For the first time, Elias felt the full meaning of the promise placed on him as a child. Not a burden, a direction. And he realized something else. He was not alone. Across the stars, there might be others like him, quiet carriers of a legacy never meant to dominate, only to guide. As the suns dipped below the horizon, Sira placed her hand over her chest once more. The duel, she said, was never about blades. Elias nodded. It never is. The final council gathering on Karos was larger than any Elias had seen before. Delegates arrived from nearby systems, drawn by quiet reports and careful rumors. They did not come expecting a hero. They came expecting an explanation. Elias stood near the edge of the Hall of Memory, his hands relaxed at his sides. He wore the same simple clothing he always had. No armor, no symbols beyond the tattoo he never tried to hide anymore. Commander Sira stood at the center of the hall. Her presence carried authority, but today her voice was measured, thoughtful. We are here, she said, not to raise a leader but to understand a legacy. The elders nodded in agreement. One by one, records were displayed, old star maps, forgotten agreements, and testimonies from recent events. The peaceful resolution Elias helped create was reviewed. not as proof of control but of influence without force. A delegate from another system stepped forward. "Why should we trust a legacy that disappeared?" Elias answered before Sira could speak. "Because it never wanted to be followed," he said calmly. "It only wanted to help, then step aside." The room grew quiet. Another delegate asked, "Why humans?" Elias paused. He did not rush his answer. "Because humans forget easily," he said, "which means we don't cling to old power. We remember lessons, not crowns." The elders exchanged looks. Sira felt something settle inside her. She had spent her life training for strength through discipline and command. Yet here stood a human who had changed the direction of entire systems without giving a single order. The eldest elder rose slowly. "The Guardians were never gone," he said. "They changed form." He looked at Elias, and they trusted humanity to carry something precious without worshipping it. The council made its decision. No title would be given, no position created. Instead, a new understanding would spread. Humans would be welcomed as mediators, not rulers. Helpers, not masters. Elias felt relief more than pride. Later that evening, the city gathered in the open plaza where the duel had been called days before. The ceremonial circle glowed once more, not for combat but for closure. Sira stepped into the circle first. Elias followed. The crowd watched in silence. "This duel," Sira said, her voice carrying across the stone, "ends now." She lowered her blade and placed it on the ground, then bowed deeply, not as a commander but as an equal. Elias returned the bow. The crowd did not cheer. Instead, they placed their hands over their chests in respect. That night, Elias prepared to leave Kairos. His ship waited quietly at the edge of the city. Sira walked with him one last time. "You could stay," she said. "Teach, guide." Elias smiled. "If I stay, the meaning changes," she nodded, understanding at last. Before he boarded, Sira removed a small token from her armor, a simple stone marked with the same ancient symbol. "Not as a copy," she said, "as a reminder." Elias accepted it. As his ship lifted into the dark sky, Sira watched until it disappeared among the stars. She felt no loss, only purpose. Across the galaxy, small changes began. Human traders were listened to. Human mediators were invited. Not because they demanded trust, but because they never demanded anything at all. Stories spread, not of human strength but of human restraint. And somewhere among the stars, Elias continued to travel, still a courier, still a quiet helper. The tattoo on his arm remained the same, the promise unchanged. Humanity never took the throne, and because of that, the galaxy trusted them with its future.